All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us for today's a month of service presentation of maintaining and adding value to your home. My name is Nia Murray. I am the programs coordinator with Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Corporation, and we are one of the partners in the a month of service collaboration. Also included, we have the City of Houston's Department of Neighborhoods, also Lone Star Legal Aid, Harris County Tax Assessor Collector's Office, Harris Central Appraisal District, the Earl Carl Institute, and Texas Legal Services Center. And Houston Volunteer Lawyers. I can't remember if I said those. But together we make up a month of service. And basically, a month of service is the collaboration of all of our organizations coming together on a monthly basis and offering a variety of different workshops relative to community empowerment, asset building, the maintaining of generational wealth, and asset protection. So we know that there are a lot of resources that are out there that a lot of people don't have access to or don't know where to go for particular questions or answers or services that they need. So we decided to collectively come together several years ago and pool a lot of our initiatives, considering that we all pretty much service the same communities, and to try to create a larger impact and create as many relationships and get as much information out there as we possibly can to our residents that will be able to utilize this information. So again, the maintaining and adding value is one of the services or one of the workshops that's offered by Neighborhood Recovery. So we decided to include it into our month of service partnership. So today we're going to be again providing you information with maintaining and adding value. And what exactly does that mean? There's a lot of little things, little tips, little maintenance issues that you could do or things address that can help with the longevity of your home, prolonging any big major issues where small issues then can become larger issues that can cost you a lot of money. In addition to that, when you're interested in doing some upgrades and some renovations and things like that to your house, what exactly does that do to the actual market value, and explaining or knowing the difference what market value and appraised value actually is, especially as it relates to your property taxes and things of that nature too. So there's going to be quite a bit of information that's going to be available for you guys today for the homeowners here. So we definitely want to again thank you all for joining us. Do note that we are here to assist in every way we can. If there are other resources that are available as it relates to like home repair programs, as we get them, we definitely do send that out. If something comes up throughout the presentation, or even as you as participants, if you guys know of any services that are out there that are currently helping with home repair programs and things like that, then please let us know. Type it into the chat so that way we can help distribute the information to again as many people as we can possibly get the information out to. Do know that you have the option to ask whatever questions it is that you like, but do keep in mind that we want to try to protect your privacy as best as we can. So we ask that you try to keep your questions to be very general. Don't disclose any information about where you live, the street, and you rent from this person or you own or bought here. We want to try to not get that information out there for everybody to have access to. However, we do want to make sure that your answer or that your concern, that your question or your concerns are actually addressed here. But we are on a recorded presentation. In addition to that, we also broadcast live on our social media platforms. So again, we don't want that information kind of just getting out there for everybody. So if you are joining us on our social media channels, please feel free to type your question into the comment section, and I'll make sure that your question is addressed and answered by the presenters. If you are joining us on Zoom, you do have the option to type your question into the chat, or feel free to either raise your hand or just unmute yourself, and we can make sure that that you can talk to the presenters directly as well. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get started. I want to be very respectful of everybody's time, and again, I want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Um, yeah, that'll be it. We'll go into everything else afterwards. But so today we have our presenting sponsors. I'm going to call you guys sponsors. So we're going to have our presenting sponsors here today. Mr. Clifford Joe with GI Inspections, who's going to be giving you the information about home maintenance and maintenance tips and things that you need to do. And then we also have Miss Nikki Collins with Keys Real Estate Services, who is a licensed appraiser and new real estate agent, who's going to be presenting the information too about adding value to your house. So without further ado, let's see, Cliff, we're going to have you go ahead and go first because I know you probably came off of a roof or something and need to get back to work. So I don't want to hold you up too much as you know, if we don't have to. So we're going to have Nikki, we're going to let you introduce yourself first. Cliff, you introduce yourself and then you can go on into your presentation. So Ms. Nikki.
Hi, my name is Nikki Collins. I am a 20 plus year real estate appraiser. I am a new real estate agent. It's interesting. One of the things that gives me joy is helping to teach others how to get the very best out of their real estate investments so that it makes their families better. All right.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Cliff.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm Clifford Joe with GI Inspections. Been an inspector now for close to 15 years. Started after leaving the military, started in real estate, decided to switch over and become a home inspector and been loving it ever since. And if we can go ahead and get started. If you want to share my screen, we can get cranking.
Okay. Do you have your presentation open?
Yes.
Okay, so you will have to go hit the green button on the bottom to do a screen share.
Let me go back here because I had already shared it. Let's see. Let me get out of here. Let me end it. Green button to say share.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I'm on the wrong screen. No wonder. Share it. Now I got to go back and pull it up. And boom, we are in business. You got me now?
Not yet. You hit the green share button and then choose the file that you're trying to share
There we go.
in Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming up now.
Okay.
Yep, there you go. Got it.
All righty. So I'm gonna close you out real quick. Minimize you down here. You go. There we go. We just deal with it. Put you down here. Okay, so go back. A little bit about me, kind of went over it. Army veteran, been an inspector for 15. I actually been a real estate salesperson, still licensed for about 16, 17. HVAC technician, project management, drone level operator. I'm also a master inspector. I'm also a member of the International Code Council. But today we want to focus on the maintenance of your home. I think it's very important that when you become a homeowner, that you understand the maintenance part of your home and why it's so important because it can affect you in multiple ways. Sometimes it's when you get ready, mainly what I see is when you get ready to sell your home. And the inspector is going to go in and a lot of things that were just left undone for so many years. That's going to be a costly issue later. Also, if you're listening to this class right now, Nia, if you still have it, you'll get a maintenance book courtesy of me and just letting you know some of the general maintenance tips that you need to know as a homeowner. So it doesn't end up costing you a lot of money when it comes to making those repairs later. Want to switch out of here and let's see. We talked about this maintenance. I'm not going to eat up a lot of time here. We're going to go over some key areas of the maintenance. And those key areas are going to deal with the roof, the foundation, the plumbing, the electrical, the HVAC system, and the drainage around your home. These are some of the common areas where I see issues when I'm out doing a home inspection. Also, I did a little something different. Near the end of this presentation, I'm going to show you 3 photographs that are recent photographs. They were actually taken yesterday morning while I was out on an inspection for a client. And I like to try to always show something new to what's going on out there because we see so much of it. I can almost write a book just on pictures of the things that we see out here. So let's focus on this roof. Actually, let's back up. Seasonal maintenance. Nia, if you still have it, you can send a copy of this to anyone in this class today. That seasonal maintenance in the spring, that seasonal maintenance in the summer. I promise you, if you focus on these areas, you can save yourself a lot of headaches later. A lot of headaches later. We see so many of these little things, like I said, they get ignored and then they become big issues later. And when they become big issues, then we think about, oh, I don't want to pay for this. I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to go ahead and sell the house. So then when you go and you sell that property, that inspector is going to go through that. He's going to point out all of those issues. And now you're asking for X amount of dollars for the home. Now you have to start looking at the repairs that need to be done to the home. And you're not going to get what you're asking for because of all of that deferred maintenance. Can be such, little things in your home maintenance. The little tasks can be done such as, cutting your grass, changing out your air filters, your smoke alarms, keeping your windows clean. Well, we're going to focus on some key issues that I've seen out there. And here's one of them. This was on a roof of a home, and they went in and they made a repair. Actually, the boot flashing they used was wrong. And they used, I think this was Flex Seal is what they used on the roof, and they just sprayed around it. And that's not a permanent fix. Also, it's not really recommended that you put vent pipes that close to one another. So what's going to happen at some point, that roof is actually going to start leaking again. And always remember that you as a homeowner, a roof repair is not a permanent fix. It is just what it is. It's just a repair. Also, keep in mind when you have a home, if you're doing more than one roof repair, it's almost time to go ahead and get yourself another roof, especially if it's starting to age out, because all you're doing is putting a Band-Aid over a bigger problem. And what happens there is that moisture intrusion starts to work its way down. Now you have problems with the decking. Now you have problems with the insulation. And, if enough water gets in, now you have water intrusion that's showing up on the ceilings. If you get it on the ceilings, there's a chance you may get it to electrical. You see where I'm going with how this stuff, it just works its way down into the home. So if you're a homeowner and it's time for a roof replacement, don't wait. Just go ahead and get it replaced because you can avoid a bunch of headaches later. And we'll go to the next one. This is roof tide as well. When I see these roof flashes and they're starting to warp and bulge out like this, that's telling me, in this case with this home, they use the same flashings when they replace the roof. So when you're a homeowner and you get the contractors out there, always look at the scope of work that contractor is going to do. Because in this case, it should have been standard that we are going to replace the flashings as well as replace the roof. But somewhere along the line, there was a break in communications, and he pulled those old flashings off. And when he was done, they put them back up there. And this is the end result because they've been thrown around, bent up along the way. And eventually, water is going to work its way through there. So little things make a big difference. When you're out there, you're dealing with contractors that's working on your roof, make sure you get everything that you can in writing. See, if you're a homeowner and you see you got tree branches over your roof, over your home, you may want to cut those back. Cut them back because what you're looking at is the possibility of a tree branch falling onto the roof of your home. And when those branches fall, depending on the size and the weight, if they come crashing down on the roof, you're going to do some damage to your roof. And most insurance companies, they'll do a drone or satellite view of your roof. And if they see it, they're going to tell you, go ahead and cut that down because it's going to damage your roof. And what I typically see is the branches are too close to the roof. They're so low that the branches will sway against the shingles and it's just slowly wearing them away. Anytime there's a storm and you have branches hanging over your roof, go out there and look, make sure nothing fell onto your roof, because if it does, if a branch falls on your roof, you want to go ahead and get it off of it as quickly as possible. Let's see. This is one home. Typically, you want a tree. If you have a tree in your backyard, you want it 15+ feet away from your home. This one in this case was so close, and again, this is an older home, but it's causing some foundation problems at the home as well. Not only did it cause some foundation problems, a tree that's too close to your home can cause some drainage problems. If you have drainage problems in your home, those drainage problems can come inside, and if it gets inside, the water get inside your home, you're gonna have mold problems, you're gonna have damage to the flooring, you're gonna have damage to the drywall as well. And if it continues, then you're gonna have possibly termite problems. So me personally, when I see a tree this close to the home, I'm looking to take it away from the home. Go ahead and cut it down. I think I could save myself one, I could save myself the headache of having to deal with it later if it falls. Two, I have peace of mind. That's more than anything to me. Just peace of mind. Go ahead and take it away and be done with it. A lot of times we see with the foundation, we see I call little settlement cracks. What's good about this settlement crack is there is no separation in the crack. This is another older home. This home was built maybe in the 70s, but just because an older home, we know we're going to see some settlement cracks in older homes, but it's becoming an issue now where I'm starting to see homes less than 5 years old with those settlement cracks. But one way to prolong that issue is to keep your yard well maintained as far as the drainage and the soil condition. You want to keep it consistent. That's why you want to keep it watered. When the soil starts to dry, because in this region, we have the clay type soil. So when it's moist, it expands. When it dries, it contracts. And if it contracts too much, you're going to have a foundation problem because there's nothing supporting the house. There's no movement allowed. It's dry. So eventually there'll be a break. So you always want to water your lawn, make sure that the drainage is good around your lawn as well, because it makes a big difference in the long run, a big difference. And we look at now, we've had some hot days. Thank God we started to get some rain coming in here. But you see what's going on down in Galveston. In some areas, like with the streets are starting to buckle in Galveston, we've seen that here right now in the Houston area. And that's all because of the heat and lack of hydration. So it makes a big difference. So always keep your yard watered. We go to the next one. This is common, little what I call corner pops. We call it chipping of the foundation. This is very normal. It's not unusual. You can, any neighborhood you go into, just look at the houses and look at the corners. This one is pretty noticeable, but sometimes it's just a hairline crack, no separation. I would always recommend, if you see this, go ahead and you can go get the mixture from Home Depot or Lowe's. Just make a mix, resurface that area on both sides, and just monitor it, because you're gonna have to do it yearly, because it's just part of how the foundation works. Also, you want to go ahead and get it resurfaced before it completely falls off. That's what I always say. If you see it now, go ahead and get in front of it, because once it falls off, it's gonna be hard to put it back in place. So if you see that corner chipping away, go ahead and resurface that corner and be done with it. Okay, I'm looking at this support post here. Oh, let me go back. How do I do that? This support post here. This happened because of the repairs to the foundation. All that stress is causing this post to warp. Now, when you are getting up, and then again, as homeowners, at some point, you may have your foundation worked on. If you have your foundation worked on, when they're done, look at the condition of your attic framing members, because there may have been some movement. Also, if you get too much moisture inside of your attic space, this can cause some movement as well, where your roof will start to dip and sag. But in this case, this was a foundation issue after the repairs were done. So always be mindful, once you have the foundation repaired, come into the attic, look at your framing members, make sure there's no movement. Because if you start having movement and that goes ignored, you're gonna create a bigger problem in the event that it breaks. Then you're gonna have your whole roof in that particular area that's gonna start to dip downward. So again, foundation repairs, after the repairs are completed, go look at your attic framing members. This home was a rehab. After they did the rehab in this home, they didn't put any type of insulation in here. So you have a new AC system that's gonna have to work real hard to keep the house cool because there's no insulation in the attic. So a home that has poor insulation can lead to higher utility bills. In the attic, if your insulation is not adequate or missing like now, that's gonna cause excessive heat to become trapped in your attic space. A hot attic will do damage to the shingles on your roof. And you're gonna see something, the shingles are gonna look like, they're gonna get that crocodile skin pattern because they're just cooking up there. They're getting direct heat from the sunlight and what's reflecting back from inside the attic space. So your shingles are basically getting cooked on both sides due to no insulation being installed in the attic. So always have at least 6 inches of attic insulation. It needs to be at least 6 inches deep. And it needs to be rated. In this case, R19 was the most common insulation rating that's used in a residential attic space. So always remember, just go and check your attic insulation. If you see spots in your attic insulation that's where I can see the ceiling, then yeah, it's time to put some insulation in there. See, this is what's showing up on my thermals. These areas are where there's no attic insulation. So you see how that heat is starting to penetrate the ceiling and enter the home. Even though you have central AC, you still, you're creating more unnecessary work on your unit. And that result is going to end up with a higher utility bill. So you're seeing the temperature change in there, and that's working its way into the home. So we're starting to see why it's important to have good attic insulation in your home. Other than attic insulation, this was more of an electrical issue. Be careful of the contractors that you decide to bring in to do a job. In this case, not only did we, the attic insulation is not the electrician's call. That was the installer who was supposed to come out and do this, didn't do it. But if I look up here, this little black box here, this junction box, this home was rewired. What they did was the electrician, whoever got hired to do this, removed all of the old aluminum wiring and replaced it with the white wire here, we call Romex wiring. And we got it up here too. This wiring should never be resting on the attic floor, just like that junction box should not be resting on the attic floor like that. All of this is a possible trip hazard. So now I'm looking at who did this work, and you want a total rewire like this. For me, I would have asked, was a permit pull to do this job. And anytime you do a major job like a window replacements, water heaters, HVAC systems, they have to pull a permit, So you check with your city and local code zoning board, see what's supposed to be done before the work is done incorrectly. Because in this case, you may not have a recourse if anything goes wrong. So protect yourself as the homeowner. This one, this is under a sink. And this is a shock hazard. When you look at it, even though it's mounted on the wall, there's no cover plate. So what happens typically when we're washing our dishes, we over the kitchen sink, our hands are wet. And what are we doing? We're reaching down, trying to turn on the dishwasher, turn on the food waste disposal, or hit a light switch. And with no cover plate. So what happens if you accidentally get your hand touching one of those wires and they're wet? You're going to get the shock of your life. So always add your cover plates here. Here, This home was not grounded. I'm looking at my tubing here, my conduit here, and here. We got wires running here, but nothing is grounded. So in the event that, say this house got jolted, I'm not gonna say a bolt of lightning because you can be grounded and still catch fire. But if you had a power surge, that surge needs to travel to the earth and it's gonna go through this rod here, but it's not connected. So if you get a power surge in your home and your home is not grounded, it's a real good chance you're going to short out some of your electrical devices. And I've seen it was done damage to televisions. I've seen it do damage to laptops that were plugged in. So in some cases, blown light fixtures, you're definitely going to trip some of them. So having your ground rod in place with the ground wire and ground clamp seems like it's just sitting over here, but we need to have that in place. And that's how you ground your home. If it's not grounded, you will get a power surge. You get a power surge, you may lose some devices. You're definitely going to trip some breakers. So go outside sometimes when you get home. Look at your connection here. If you're looking at that clamp, if I touch it, I shouldn't be able to move it around. It should be a good firm grip onto that rod. And if it's not, go ahead and tighten it down. This is why you hire the right people to do a job. This this is a tankless water heater. And when it was installed, it started leaking on the hot side, on the left side, which is your hot side. Well, beneath that, there's a drain pan here. But this is just not, it's not really considered a drain pan for a residential home. It was just a drain pan, a drip pan. It had no connection to drain out and away from the home. So the end result, the leak was so bad here, it filled up the drain pan here, and it was a huge drain pan. And that water overflowed onto the ceiling area. So you ruined the insulation, you ruined the ceiling too. And I was told that this was a master plumber that did this job. So you say it's a master plumber, you know, I don't think a master plumber would have put that type of work in there, not knowing, knowing that, you know, you risk losing your license doing some work like this. So in the end, I don't know what happened in the end as far as if the buyer decided to move forward or not, but I pointed it out and that was pretty much the end of my part of it. But I'm saying that to say, when you have a professional come in to do the job, check the credentials. This job, first off, well, would have been, where is your permit? Because there was no permit pulled to do a job like this. And when something like this, very extensive, this home was replumbed and that was put in. So when you're doing that scope of work, that big of a job, yeah, there should have been a permit for it. So it didn't happen. And that created a problem bigger than what we wanted to see. So unfortunately, it did more damage than good. This is common. And I'll tell anyone, you know, go home, look under your sinks in the kitchen and in your bathrooms, and just kind of move whatever items you have stored under the sinks and run the water, run the hot and the cold, and see if you have any drips that are coming. Sometimes that drip is coming from the connection of the drain line under the sink. Sometimes it's starting to leak at the fixtures that you're using, your faucets. On the hot and cold side, they wear out, they're old, and they start to get those little small leaks. We don't notice them until all of a sudden you open that vanity cabinet door and you get that odor that rolls into the living space. And that's usually an indication that there's a leak there. In this case, judging from the thermal imaging, I'm looking up here at the top to the right of this drain line here, on down, it had been leaking for some time and no one knew about it. So little things like that, that's general maintenance. I would say every 6 months, look at it. Go in there and look at it, see what happens, especially if you store a lot of items under your kitchen sink or your bathroom vanities. Because if you start banging against this drain pipe, you may break the seal on it. If you break the seal, you know, you may get a leak. This is a brand new unit. but for some odd reason, the home, but actually the unit was about a year old. They left the warranty papers up here stored, and this is the furnace. And I'm looking at this red tag. This tag is laying across the burners. Tag laying across the burners, and the warranty papers are sitting over here. What do you think is going to happen when they fire that furnace up? You're gonna lose your warranty papers because they're going to probably burn up. If not, they're going to singe. And that warning tab that may trip your alarm. If you get a fire outside of the burning tubes down here, you're going to burn up your wiring harness here. If that's a pretty expensive job to replace that wiring harness. So if you're going to buy an entirely new system, you're going to replace your HVAC system, always look for the warranty papers. If your unit is stored, your furnace is in the attic space, just ask the installer, hey, can you bring me the warranty papers? Can you bring them down to me? Because I need to fill them out and get them turned in. The reason why you want to fill them out and turn them in is because the installer may have a warranty that may only last a year, but the manufacturer may have a warranty that lasts 2 years. So you want to give yourself that extra layer of protection. Also, with the HVAC system, you want to get it serviced at least twice a year. See, we're just thankful this guy never fired up his furnace, because if he did, it would have been a big mess right there on the spot. And it would have been who did it, the installer put the paperwork in the right place, and you just be surprised at what comes after the damage is done. What I'm looking at here, this is the end of the HVAC system, the duct, what we call a plenum. And right along this little run here, there's a micro break. You can barely see it. But what you can see is these beads of moisture and little trickles here of condensation. That's why you want to get your system serviced at least twice a year, because that seal is bad now. So now you basically have cold air rushing it out of that little break, and it's going into the attic space. And the attic space is typically hot, and you're getting that cold air, and it's mixing with the hot air. So now you got a moisture problem. If you get a moisture problem, hold on just a second. Okay. I'm sorry, my timers are set with the lights. But here, if you have moisture building up like this, that's going to create a major problem. It's possibly going to create a mold problem too, because eventually it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you're going to wonder why your unit is not functioning properly. Whether in the winter you're not getting warm air, in the summer you're not getting cold air, because this break is going to get bigger enough to where it's going to cause a degree or two of your comfort level being lost. And if it's lost, what we're going to do, we're going to crank up the unit a little bit more to get that desired comfort. But then in the end, we end up paying for it from a high utility bill, when all we had to do was go get it inspected, have a guy come through and reseal this up, and be done with it. Two photos here. Always keep your gutters clean. Always keep them clean, free of debris. And here's why you want to do that. If you keep too much of your gutters start filling up with debris, the water can't escape. So now you have the weight of that water trapped in there in your gutters, and the debris trapped in your gutters. Now your gutters are going to start pulling away from the home. If they start pulling away, now the new problem is the water is getting behind the gutter. It's going to damage the fascia boards. And if it damages that fascia board, it'll start damaging the soffits. Now, cosmetically, you're going to look at it, it's a problem now. So you always want to keep your gutters clean and free of debris. Also, at this bottom picture here, what I'm looking at, there's no splash block here. Or you could have put an extension here that runs all the way out. All you're doing at this point, from here all the way down to here, you're just creating a divot in the dirt. And all it's doing is just eroding away the soil that makes up the pad that your house sits on. And eventually, it's going to cause a foundation problem. And it won't happen overnight. It'll be years and years of it. And eventually, you'll start noticing some movement. you start noticing little settlement cracks in the exterior, in this case, the exterior brick. And it doesn't, like I say, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. And eventually, if no one gets in front of this, it'll happen. So you always want to make sure you could have some good drainage around your home. In this case, you know, our appliances, you know, they're like vehicles. They wear out. It's not unusual to have you know, the knobs start to break off on the appliance or they become difficult to operate. See if you can go online, look up the model of the appliance that you have, in this case, this range. See if you can get you some new knobs, you know, and just go ahead and replace them. You don't want them to break on you to the point where they fall off and you can't turn off that device or that appliance. You don't want it to get that far along the line. So you want to keep them clean, keep your range clean. Also, when you keep your range clean, make sure your knobs are fully functional. This is a plumbing issue that I noticed. I was actually out on a inspection, and I noticed it took a very long time for that tub to fill up. Well, in the end, they realized they put on the wrong faucet for the tub. The faucets that are designed for the tub and the kitchen, even the vanities, they're rated. The flow rates are different. And putting this on here, the wrong one, the flow rate was a lot lower. So it took a longer time to fill that tub up. And we're thinking something like it's maybe a block somewhere, but just using the wrong material. So again, you always got to make sure you get the right people to do the job. You could have gotten past that one. So one day you'll be looking at a home like this, want to take a bath, and you're wondering why it's taking 45 minutes to fill up the tub. Sometimes it's just the wrong material that was used to do the job. It looks good, it looks correct, but even when you go to the hardware store, look at the flow rates. And sometimes ask, you know, do your homework. And then after you do your homework, when you get to the stores and you ask about some of the items, you know, look at the flow rates on them. It'll show. It'll definitely show. Most of us, you know, say homeowners, you have the garage doors. And this is the top of the garage door here. And all I'm looking at is where the garage door operator, that arm that connects to the garage door that hooks up and pulls it up and helps shuts it down, that part wears out over time. And in this case, you have movement along here. This is the thin aluminum, and this aluminum will buckle at some point, but you only have one screw holding it in place. So we're wrong here with the wrong screw, and it's starting to show movement up here. You can't see it. You ever notice when you open your garage door, sometimes it sticks, and you're trying to let it down, it goes down and it sticks, and it comes up again? It's because of start with the wheels on the rails, keep them lubricated. Keep those wheels lubricated so the less friction you have, the least likely that the garage door will stick when in use. And this is common as the home settles. So if you get to the point where, hey, I'm lubricating my wheels on my garage door railing, I'm still getting the same result. Now it's time to call in a company that specializes in garage doors and see if they can realign the railings, or they may have to make a repair or a replacement here. But definitely don't let it get to the point where it's going up and it's not coming down, or it's going down and coming back up. I had that issue. I used to go to work at 4 in the morning and didn't know anything about it. I would get up and take off and come home and the garage door was still up. And I'm thinking somebody broke into the garage, but it was negligence on my part. And when I figured it out, I was like, oh, okay, let me go ahead and get the people in charge who need to be here. This overflow that I'm looking at here, this overflow has to do with the high loop on the dishwasher. That high loop was resting on the floor. It's a clear, if you have a dishwasher, look under your sink. When you look under your sink, you're gonna see a clear hose that's running from the dishwasher and it's connected to the food waste disposal. Well, it's designed to hang up behind the sink. If it's hanging up behind the sink, it's least likely to get a blockage. But if you leave it resting on the floor under the cabinet, it's probably going to get a blockage, and that overflow has to come in here. Luckily, I heard it, and I turned this opening. You always want this opening turned toward the sink. That way, if you get any water overflow, it's going into the sink and not onto the countertop and onto the floor. So always keep this cover pointed toward the sink. And if you see your dishwasher hose connection from the dishwasher to the food waste disposal, see it resting on the floor, go ahead and raise it. Raise it and make sure it's hanging on the hooks that's behind the sink. Termites. Termites, this is in a rehab project. This home had poor drainage. This is in the garage. This is next to a fireplace. If you can look at the photos, I can count one vein here, two here, three that runs all the way down. Let me go back. And a fourth one that's running down. So that's near a fireplace. This one was missing the chimney cap for the fireplace. This one, again, poor drainage. Sometimes I'm gonna pause on this one for a second, this bottom right picture. One of the reasons this happened is because the homeowner decided to extend his patio. Well, by extending his patio, he didn't take into account that it was not pitched correctly. So the patio that he installed was pitched toward the home. So anytime it would rain, water was going towards the back of the garage. So eventually enough of it got back there and the termites got back there as well. They had a field day. They tore it up. And it had been like that for years. This is in the attic space. Remember, we talked about moisture intrusion from the roof. You get enough of it, termites can enter your home and live in the attic space if they have enough of a water source. This same thing, this was poor drainage around this home. And I'm looking at the algae here. If you ever see algae around your home, that's usually an indication you're not getting enough sunlight on that side of the home. So if there's not enough sunlight, it's really a moisture problem there, and that's where your pests are going to live. So always, in this case, a light detergent with something in it to kill off the algae growth will probably remedy the algae issue. And at this point, I would have called the termite guy in, exterminator, to see how far my the damage has been done inside my home. This is a mold issue. Remember what we mentioned earlier, always look around and see if you have any leaks under your sink, because those leaks under your sink can cause this problem. This picture was actually taken yesterday. I was out looking at a house and they pulled out the vanity, and when they pulled the vanity out, that was left. So you got mold over here. So you got to cut all that out, see what's behind it, and see what's the next course of action. This one, again, look at your contractors. Look at your scope of your contractors. Down here at this bottom half, that's a piece of new flooring that's being put in. It's being installed over the old tile that's in place here. Well, what I'm looking at when I'm walking this, number of things. One, this is an older home, so I do expect some movement in the floor. That's expected. It's settlement. It's a slab on grade foundation. But you didn't take the old tile. We put a insulator here, this little white piece, this foam here, it's a thin insulator, but we should have used a self-leveling epoxy first take off all that old tile, clean it up, put the self-leveling epoxy down, and then apply this insulator, and then the floor, the final finish. And then you go in and add your baseboards, but that wasn't done. So throughout this home, you got a new floor, but it's sloping everywhere. So eventually it's not, it's going to last, you're going to accelerate the life expectancy of the floor in layman's terms, because it was installed wrong. So in the event that you have a product like this flooring and you don't follow the manufacturer's specs during the install, If you have a problem, they're gonna send it, you call them, holding that flooring company responsible, they're gonna send out one of their reps. And they're gonna look at something like this, if this is the case, and they're gonna deny whatever claim they have because it was installed for them. It was in, so you know your contractors, know who you have doing your job. Um, Energy rating. If you have a home, you know, you're looking to improve the energy rating of your home, look at the, go out to this website, www.energy.gov. A lot of good nuggets there on how to conserve energy in your home. Give you a lot of maintenance tips as well. Little things like that you want to know. This is for any veteran. There's a program out there, and it's called a HISA program, and it's for veterans who have to have some remodeling done to their home due to injuries sustained while in the military. I would tell you to get a picture of this. I'm pretty sure Nia will send it to you, but they'll cover up to $6,500 for your bathrooms, kitchens, driveways. But you know, something like new construction, your walkways, not gonna give you a hot tub, not gonna give you a decking. They probably put a ramp up to your porch, but not a full deck. But little things like that, and they make a difference. Little things, and that's for veterans out there. So in conclusion, we talked about the roof, attic, foundation, drainage, electrical, plumbing, and appliances. I guess if we have any questions, this is my contact information here. That's my cell number, that's the email, that's my Trek license number. You can check me out on Facebook at GI Inspections PLLC. And if we have any questions, I'll be ready to entertain them at this point. Nia?
There aren't any in the chat. It was only a reference or asking about home repair programs. So if you guys know of any, again, like I mentioned earlier, any organizations or companies that that are providing any kind of home repair assistance, then if you could please let us know or share that information with the other people that are also on this presentation. I know that they certainly don't have a lot of the funding available that they used to have. Um, I've heard of a couple. Rebuild Together Houston at one point had gotten more funding to do home repair programs, but a lot of those programs you do have to income qualify, and a good number of them are mostly for like seniors and disabled and for veterans. They're not just for the general person that just needs some repairs done to their house. They generally don't do that for just everybody. So there are some sort of special circumstances that they will allow um, the public to participate in some of those programs. So I believe those were all the questions that I have so far for you, Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any of the participants, if you want to unmute yourself, if you have a question for Cliff? And, okay. Right. So the materials that he referenced, the home repair book, the routine maintenance, all of that stuff is going to be emailed to you all after this workshop is over with as well, along with the recording. So if you want to go back and kind of look at or see or even share some of the information that he had for you today, then we'll include that. That's going to be included on the email that you all receive as well. So, all right.
I have a question.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, Mr. Dale.
I wanted to know, thank you for your presentation. And thank you, Nina. But my question is, like, I see the things that you're showing that we should look for, but like if you have a checklist that we can go by, like when you have someone to come out and check your roof, what should we see? So, are they supposed to scrape all the shingles off of the building and then start repairing, or what?
Here's how that works. If you're trying to do just simply a roof repair,
No, I mean to have it redone.
you have
I've had repairs already, and they came back on me where I had to get it repaired again. So I want to try to save up to get enough to have the whole roof redone.
Okay,
But I want to know, what should I look for? They're gonna get all them shingles out the way and put
Mhm.
down some more wood or whatever before they put the shingles
Yeah.
down?
A good roofing company, first check check your people, your roofer. Check
Uh-huh.
around, because I've seen some astronomical prices out there, and I've seen what I call fair pricing out there. And guess what?
Mhm.
They're all doing the same job, the same
Right.
size, same material. So
Uh-huh.
where is this extra charge coming in at? So you as the homeowner,
Uh-huh.
this is what I can tell you what should happen. Once get
Okay.
a scope of work. When they come out and do a replacement on your roof, they should replace the flashings. They should around the perimeter of the roof, and they should replace your vent flashings too. Also, when they remove the shingles, even though it's allowed in the state of Texas to put a new roof on top of an older one, it is
They
not
want
recommended.
that. Yeah, my house is old. It's been here for 69 years. So I know the people that lived here previously, they had their roof redone, but I don't know if they replaced any boards, but I
Well,
want
if
it
you
done right.
because some roofs have decking and some roofs have what we call slats,
Oh,
planks. So if you have any broken planks, and there's a method that they can use to put what we call plywood with sheathing over the planks. That's how they're gonna upgrade it. But if it's an older roof and it has it in there, if there's any damage, they're gonna point it out to you because all of the old shingles are gonna be taken off. So if there's
huh,
any areas of dry rot due to moisture intrusion, they're gonna point it
huh,
out. Hey, we had
huh,
to replace this piece out. Hey, we had to replace over here. We had to replace this piece out over here. We had to, you'll find here, we can let that make it, but this is what you have. Looking at the shingles, know what a 30-year shingle is to a 20-year shingle.
Do they
You,
look different?
yes, they do. Send me your email address and everything. I'll show you what a 30-year roof shingle look like as opposed to a 20-year shingle roof.
Okay, that'll be good. Real
That's
good.
you want to know that. Um,
Hmm.
Again, they should not only when they do the install on your roof, they should paint the flashings at both of them, at the vents and at the perimeter. Get that in writing because I see a lot of new roofs that are being put up and they don't paint the flashings, and you want those painted, even your vents, your metal ones, say for your furnace and your water heater. You want those
Hmm.
painted because you want to prevent any premature rust and corrosion. Even on the
Hmm.
PVC pipes for the plumbing, you want those painted because you don't want any early deterioration of the material. And a lot
Right.
of times they tend to forget, or it was not part of the scope of work. And that scope of work is important. That's what's to get all of that up front.
Hmm.
That way, if there's a problem, you can address it. If they're saying they're using a stainless steel cap nail, I want to see that nail on site. If they're telling me
Hmm.
they're using a rhino underlayment, synthetic, I want to see synthetic. If they're telling me they're using a rhino felt underlayment, I want to see that. If you're telling me using Owens Corning shingle, uh, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, Supreme. I want to see Supreme. If you're telling me,
Hmm.
everything you're telling me that you're going to be using, that's what I want to see on the ground the day of the install.
So I'll look at the boxes and see what the box has labeled on it.
Yes, it's going to be right there.
Okay, so I'll take a picture of it.
Mhm.
And the one place that I have had to keep repairing is right over the bathroom, where it leaks in the bathroom. It's like a line going across my ceiling. So how can I make sure that they reinforce that area? You know, where that little flute come up out the ceiling,
Mhm.
or whatever you call it. It could,
It, it,
well,
no,
go
I'm
ahead.
listening to you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, what that flute is, that's where the water been leaking. So I had to repair it twice. So I know now I need to go on and just get the whole roof repaired. But how can I make sure that they reinforce that area so that it doesn't come back so soon?
Okay. Well, the proper way is that flue vent should be at least, for starters, that flue vent itself should be at least 6 inches in height. When
That's
they put
that.
when they put the new one on, it should be properly sealed or at the edges. and around the base of it. Here's something that they don't always do, but it's depending on where you live.
Mhm.
If you go to Brazoria County or towards Galveston, it's mandatory, but there's no law saying that you can't do it here. When they
Mhm.
install those vents on the roof, they not
Uh-huh.
only install them and nail them down, they caulk and seal around all of them. So
Is
that's
that
just
the way to do it?
say
Caulk
again.
and seal is better?
That's better. That gives you an extra layer of reinforcement.
Okay, so caulk and seal and then
You
hammer it
can nail it
down?
in place and then caulk and seal around it.
Okay. Because the men that came out, they did do something around that little flute hole, looked like tar or
Well,
something. I don't know what it was, but it still leaked and I got to get it fixed. So thank you.
leaks they don't get better.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I wanted to ask you. I'm gonna look for your book so I can read through it.
Neil,
I'll definitely, it's like 200 and some odd pages. So I'll send out I'll see. There has a good table of contents. So if there's only one particular area, you can go to the table of contents and go specifically to that area. You don't have to sit and read through the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm
So
gonna look at that attic thing. Now, with the attic, since my house is old, that old what you call it, the stuff to keep it cooler or hot,
insulation.
insulation is old. So is there a way that I can get that pulled out before they come to, or do they supposed to do that, pull it out? The
No,
old
that's not
insulation.
their job. Their job, like if the roofer guy's coming out to do the roof, their focus is gonna be on the roof.
I mean, this another job I'm talking about because I
Okay.
got to get my attic fixed up, because it'd be so cold in here when the winter comes. So I have to have that insulation done
There
around
is
the house.
having an older house,
Yeah.
there's a different insulation that's being used now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strong, it's I think it's like R22 or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a newer one.
What's that? The Pink Panther thing?
No, 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 no. That's a bad insulation. This insulation is blue in color, and it
Mm-hmm.
has some pieces that look like sponge, and it has some pieces that look like actual insulation, traditional spray insulation, but it's blue in color. The good thing about that insulation is rated higher, and it's designed for older homes like your home.
Okay.
Also, it's been treated to prevent. It has a chemical in it that's designed to repel pests and rodents.
Okay.
But if you have a home that's less than 15, 20 years old, that's not a home that you want to put that in because you're going to
My
hold.
house is 69
So
years old.
your house is almost 70 years old, so it'll work
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. So when they come to put the insulation in, they'll pull out what's already there and
Make sure you
then
get
start
that in
putting it in.
writing. Make sure you
Okay.
get that in writing. And here's why I say that. And they may tell you, oh, it's no problem. You can put new insulation on
Nuh-uh. I'm not
insulation.
gonna go for that.
Now, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to make sure you get it in writing that you now, I'll be honest with you, there will be a charge to remove that insulation,
That's
to put
fine.
insulation in, but
Mm-hmm.
up front,
Because I
all of
don't know how to do it and I don't want to try to do it. But a lady told me that she had had some insulation put in her house over the old one and it was pushing down her ceiling because it was too heavy.
oh,
So, hmm so I don't want that. But I just want to know
then
who's
if you have
responsible.
moisture intrusion coming into your home, moisture
Uh,
intrusion, once it starts working, it's like it worked its way to the ceiling.
uh-huh.
Worked its way through the ceiling and had to go through the insulation. So the insulation in that area may have been compromised.
Oh,
So
okay.
if,
Well, I'm gonna read your book and see what it say. Then I'll call you and ask you a whole lot of questions.
okay, no problem. Problem
Thank
at
you.
all. You're
all
welcome.
right. So his contact information is there. And
That's
I'll also include it in the email for everyone too.
okay.
So
Thanks.
Cliff, thank you very much. I really definitely appreciate you once again for coming out and providing this information this afternoon. You're always a wealth of information, and I truly, truly appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay. Ms. Nikki, are you ready? We're gonna move on into the other part about adding value. So as you're making a lot of these changes and updates and upgrades, does it truly add value to your house? So without further ado, we're gonna have Ms. Nikki Collins. Cliff, undo your screen. Stop your screen share.
Yeah, I switched it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is, again, Nikki Collins. We're going to have a brief presentation on making sure that whatever you do to your property adds value, so that you don't waste your money. And we're going to talk about the different ways that we look at value. Because Cliff told us how to keep our value, and then we want to know how to add a value to it. So I'm a second generation real estate professional. My mom is a real estate appraiser and broker. My background is in IT originally, and then the bubble burst. And then I said, well, maybe I can learn something from my mom. So I went and got a real estate master's degree from Texas A&M, and I've been a real estate professional. One day I will change that number for over 20 years now. And let's get right into it. So the question, whenever you're talking about investments of any kind, whether it's a car, whether it's stocks, bonds, whatever it is, jewelry, the question is, what is your return? So we're going to be looking at ROI, which is the return on investment, which is the name that you will always, the phrase you will always hear with regard to whether or not an investment is going to be a sound investment. We're going to talk about the difference between cost and value. We're going to talk about pecuniary value, and we're going to talk about personal value. So just keep those 4 things in mind as we push through this presentation, starting with return on investment. So now return on investment measures the profit you have made or could have made on an investment. So if I put $1 into a savings account, and the dollar over the course of that year earns 10 cents. So now I have $1.10 in the savings account. The return on that investment was 10%, right? 10% of dollars, 10 cents. So, you know, if what you're looking for is a 10% investment, and as quiet as it's kept, 10 cents on the dollar is really good for a return on investment, especially in something as safe as a savings account, which is why you don't normally see that. But you know, that's how we say, what percentage of my money can I make over what I invested? And that's that return on investment. Now, a lot of times the mistake people make, especially when they are doing things to their home, is they equate cost and value. They say, well, oh, and when I say I'm a real estate professional, I don't know if I said I'm a real estate appraiser. I think I did, but I'm a real estate appraiser. So when we hear cost and value, and I put a picture of a pool, which is going to make me skip over something a little later, but I'm going to talk about this now because it's always, to me, the best example of cost and value. If I have a car that you know, there's this car that my grandfather drove, and you know, I really wish I could find this car, and it doesn't matter to me what this car will cost, because you know, the value to me is so much more important that I'll just pay anything. Now, so for those of us who cannot attach emotions to our money, that's a strange conversation. You know why? Because when we look at cost and we look at value, we must always consider that there are 2 types of value. There's pecuniary value, which is dollars and cents, which is how most of us assign value to things. And then there is personal value, which is also how most of us assign value to things. You just didn't think about it that way. And that's the ooey gooeyness that we really can't put a number on, but sometimes you will pay more than you should because of an ooey gooey. So let's talk about that cost versus value. And the reason I said that first is because I want us to know we're looking at dollars and cents, not about how we feel, but dollars and cents. Back to the pool. So during the pandemic, everybody was putting in the pool, right? You're stuck at home, you can't go anywhere. This was in March. We were heading into the summer seasons. And so it was like, what do we do if we can't put these children somewhere? That was the real question. Nobody was concerned about themselves. Where do we put these kids? And so people started putting pools in. And the pools, a pool that, you know, a few years before would have been $25,000 is now worth $50,000. So we get slightly out of the pandemic. People are not working at home in the same manner. Maybe you said, I'm a remote worker now. I'm going to move to Houston. Why was everybody doing that? I'm going to move to Houston from, you know, wherever America, and I'm going to make Houston my home because it's so sunny there all the time. Nobody told y'all about the humidity. They just told you it was sunny all the time. So you put in this $50 pool and it's gorgeous. And for the 2 years that you and your family could weather a Houston summer, you enjoyed that pool thoroughly. And then you decided that you would move. And you listed your house and you told your agent, make sure you put in that pool, that you know, make sure you account for that pool in the sales price. And your agent, because they may not be very good at their job, told you, well, how much did you spend on the pool? And you said, I spent $50,000 on this pool. So your agent said, okay, we will increase your costs over the neighborhood comps that don't have a pool by $50,000. Now, let me tell you what an appraiser is going to tell you. And this will only happen if your agent is not very good, okay? But let me tell you what your appraiser is going to tell you. They're going to tell you that that $50,000 pool that you got because you love your children and you didn't want them stuck in your home is going to be appraised for maybe $10,000. Why? Because your personal cost, what you paid for something, doesn't make it worth that in the market. It made it worth it to you. Now, there are some things that are fairly easy to determine cost and value as long as there are no extenuating circumstances. Whatever the market says is the rate for lobster or crawfish. Most Houstonians can understand that. You go into the restaurant, there's not even a number on the menu. Why? Because the market at large is going to tell you what that lobster or crawfish is worth today. And, you know, either you want to eat it or you don't, because that price is going to be fairly similar no matter what really nice restaurant you go to in the city. So that's kind of easy to see. But when you get into something where different people will have different opinions and feelings and thoughts about whether or not they desire a thing, the value changes. And so that's why we talk about the cost and value, especially with regard to pools in the greater Houston area. So now what we tend to tell people, this is the agent side speaking, what we tend to tell people if they desire to put a pool in their house, because we do renos and all that kind of stuff and help people get stuff done in their homes. They say, oh, we'd like to put in a pool. And so our first thought is, our first question is always, what do you want to spend? Right? So that we can even see if this is even something reasonable. Because if you don't have a realistic idea of what a pool costs, you may need to just let that dream die. But okay, so your cost is reasonable. The next thing we ask is, how long do you plan to be in this house? Right? Because we want to know, are you going to get to enjoy this pool you're getting put in? Because no matter what you spend, unless you spend $5,000 or $6,000 on a pool, which is never going to happen, you're not going to get all of that money back. It is highly unlikely, let's say it like that, it's highly unlikely that you will get all of that money back. One of the reasons that we are seeing return on investments go down, even as costs go up and value is going up, is because money is expensive right now. So that's another thing that impacts the return on investment. Whenever we see interest rates are really high, that high interest rate doesn't just affect us when we go to get a mortgage loan. It doesn't just affect us when we get a credit card. It doesn't just affect us when we get a car loan. Those things are easy for us to see. The bigger impact is the impact on the market. Because let's say you want to build an addition on your home. So you're going to need wood, you're going to need shingles, you're going to need nails, you're going to need screws, you're going to need paint, you're going to need sheetrock, you're going to need all the things. Well, let's think about what it takes to get all those things to you. first you have the supplier who has to pay his staff. A lot of the times he does that through loan funds, right? He pays his staff while he waits for your invoice to come in, but he pays them from a loan that he has to keep his salary paid. Well, if his interest is higher to pay his people than it used to be, do you know what? His materials are going to be higher. So you've paid that higher cost. You paid for those higher costing materials. Well, the materials are in Washington State, and here you are in Texas. They've got to get here. How are they going to get here? They're going to get here in that truck. Guess what? That truck, the man who owns that 18-wheeler, he has a loan on that car. I mean, on that truck. And maybe he had to get it refinanced because the belts got a little tighter. Well, he got it refinanced and his note's lower, but his interest rate was higher. Guess who's going to eat that higher interest rate cost? He also has to pay his people. Guess who's going to eat that higher interest rate cost? And those costs get absorbed all the way in until it gets to the end user, me putting in the addition on my property. And so as those things become more and more expensive, my return on investment goes down. The reason I use an addition is because we did an addition here in 2022. We started planning for it in 2020, right? But the only thing about being in real estate is if somebody's project that you're going to get paid for comes up, yours gets put to the back burner, right? So in 2020, we ran all the numbers. The numbers made sense. It looked good. We had enough cash saved to do the project. All things were great. But this was the plan in 2020. Then just as we had finished getting the drawings done by the architect, we had a project we were going to get paid on. So we said, let's put this to the side for a minute. Let's focus on that. We ran their whole project, right? By the time we got ready to run now our project, material costs for, it's these big old sheets of plywood, but it's not plywood, it's the thick stuff, it's OSB. Those sheets had jumped 900%, where they used to be $4 a sheet, they were $36 a sheet. Blew our budget out of the water. What return on investment? Because we had already taken the roof off by the time we priced the materials. So we just had to eat those costs, but it's fine because the question, how long will you be here to enjoy it? We don't know until it goes away. We're just in it for the long haul. And so it made the rising cost of money, the labor, the materials, it made it still retain its value in part because of how long we're going to be here. So let's say you've made these changes to your property, or you're considering, right? You're trying to decide whether you're going to stay in the property you own, or if you're going to sell it. Maybe you're the one who's looking to purchase and you don't know how what's happening in the market is going to impact you. We've already said the price of all the things are going up. So how do we know how that impacts our return on investment? Because there are two ways to look at it. Are you the seller or are you the buyer? Both of those people have a return on investment that they are concerned about. The seller wants to recoup as much of what they spent as they possibly can, and the buyer wants to make sure that they don't spend so much in the beginning that they're not able to recoup what they spent. So what's the difference between the sellers and the buyer's market? It's really identified by how expensive is money. And I know people like to make it harder than that, but it's not harder than that. How expensive is the money? When money is cheap, i.e. interest rates are low, you're going to end up with a seller's market. It may not start there, but you're going to end up with a seller's market. And this is because when interest rates are lower, more buyers are able to go in and get qualified for more money. When sellers see that there is more money out there, they increase their prices. And if there are a lot of buyers in the pool, then there's a lot of competition. When there's a lot of competition, then, sellers are able to say, well, I know that this kitchen is black from the ceiling to the floor, But that sounds like a you problem, because I have 8 more people who are willing to purchase this black kitchen, right? And they're willing to do whatever it takes. Seller's market. Now let's look at what's happening right now. Interest rates are higher. Fewer people are able to qualify for loans. And even when they do qualify, the amount that they qualify, i.e. the amount, their payment is elevated. So they can't qualify for as much, right? Because the payment is going to be too high. And so what happens in that instance is you can have a seller with a gorgeous property. And I mean gorgeous. They've done all the things. They read the book. They followed all of the rules. And the buyer will come in and say, well, that's not the white countertop I would have chosen. And either they can change out that countertop or they can lose that sale. And it's just that simple, because there are going to be more properties available for purchase than there are qualified purchasers. And so that will impact the return. In a seller's market, a seller's return is fabulous. In a buyer's market, not so much. I'm so sorry. I homeschool, and that's my 5-year-old, and she waited as long as she could, but she was getting ready to implode. Okay. So we talked a little bit about time being of the essence, how long you're going to own the property, impacting the decisions that you make. And let's also look at whether this is a homestead or an investment property. Are you going to live in it? The things that you would do for the house that you are personally going to enjoy should be different than the things you would do in a property that you are looking to either flip for sale or that you are changing and renovating in order to lease it out. When you are doing something with your own, for your own taste, take the color wheel and just throw it in the air. If you're going to be there to enjoy it and you're not looking to have to convince anybody else it's a good idea, knock yourself out, have a ball. But if your intent is to expose it to the market, then you want to have it as neutral as you can so that it impresses more of the market and doesn't restrict you into a niche. Now, there are some properties in certain price points where you don't have a choice. You have to do what is done in that segment of the market. But when you're in the average portion of the market, you want to make sure that your property is as appealing to more people as it can possibly be, to make sure that you retain your value if you are trying to sell or lease that property. So we talked about being able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Don't put that pool in looking to get that money back, because you may or you may not. Now, let's talk about the difference in the things that increase value. I always like it when the inspector talks before me, because it helps me it really makes understanding deferred maintenance easier. Deferred maintenance is all those things you do just to maintain status quo. It is making sure that your AC is functioning properly, making sure that your roof does not leak, making sure that your your electrical, your plumbing, all of those things function as they should. It's not necessarily upgrading them. Sometimes it will be upgrading them because the time calls for an upgrade, but most of the time it's just keeping them functioning at the status quo. Now let's talk about a capital improvement. Those are things that you do that are going to increase the value. And typically how you would do it, particularly in an older home, is you, for lack of a better phrase, you keep up with the Joneses. And if when we moved into this house, it was 1986. It was a wonderful time to be alive. There was wood paneling on every circle, on every surface. There was vinyl sheet on the floor, and there was Formica on the countertops. The whole house could go up in flame at any moment, but it was a great time to be alive. Over the course of these many years, I now own the childhood home. Over these many years, we have made changes as the industry has made changes. A good thing about being an appraiser and my mom being a broker was we always knew what was happening in the market. So when people moved from vinyl floor to tile, we got our first iteration of tile, and it was lovely. It was a light blue with the flowers in the corner. And you made the flower pieces match up and you got a bloom at every juncture. And so we had that for a while. Then they moved it to the white tile floor phase. We pulled up that blue. Well, really, my dad laid white tile on top of the blue tile. Oh, it was a mess when it was finally time to pull all that tile up. But we laid the white tile on top of that. Then it moved into the phase where it was the little tiles. They were like 2 feet by 2 feet by half a foot that looked like wood. And nobody in America would think they were wood, but we convinced ourselves that when people see this, they're gonna think we have wood. So we did that. And the current iteration, at least on the first floor, is the 4-foot, 1 by 1 foot tile that looks like wood. And these really do look like wood now, woodish. And so, we've kept up. The Formica is gone, replaced by granite. The big light box, I don't know if you all remember the big light boxes they used to have in the kitchens in the 80s. That's come out to be replaced by recessed lighting. It's just making sure that you do all of those things that keep your value in line with what's happening in the market. What are people looking for now when they go into a house? And so what we like to do on occasion is just to walk through some models. What are they doing in the new homes? Oh, they don't use this anymore. They're doing this now. Now, my mother still loves dark floors. So we have these dark floors throughout the house, and nobody's putting in dark floors anymore. But we're not looking to sell it so she can love her dark floors while she is here to love them. And we will just suffer these dark floors where you can see every speck of everything while she's here to enjoy it. But so those things that increase the value are those things that keep you current, not so much keep you functioning, right? But keep you aesthetically current. So how do you know what changes to make? We're going to think 2 ways. The first way is we're going to think like a buyer. Sometimes we want to do things where we're like, well, I really like this Egyptian marble. In your segment of the market, do people care? Do they just want a stone? Right? So it would make sense then to just use a stone that's more reasonable, which helps your return on investment, but also pleases the buyers that you're going to have. One of those is a granite and one of those is a marble. The one that you would think is a granite, the splotchier one, because that's what granite normally does, right? That's what, in a lot of places it has that little crumb to it. Or you would really just think the striated one, the one with the lines, was the marble, because that's how we're used to seeing marble. But that piece that has all the little crumble, that's actually cut out of a section of marble. And that part that has the striated lines is a granite, just happened to be more veined than to have the little stone pieces. So the average buyer doesn't know. I didn't know till I pulled those pieces when I made this PowerPoint way back when. And so, you want to make sure that you're not doing things hoping to impress, but it's going to leave you in a manner where you won't get that money back. The other way is to think like an appraiser. So when an appraiser is valuing your property, in a perfect world, the sales comparable they would use, because we always use historical data, would be a house with the exact same floor plan you have next door that sold yesterday. Then we could say, oh, for sure, that's what it would sell for, because that's what it just did on yesterday, right? And so we always compare to the homes near you. We look at what people are buying, right? What they're expecting in those homes. Right now, my home would not be worth as much if it still had the vinyl flooring and the Formica and all those things, because no other homes in my subdivision have that. Even though these are homes built in the 80s, everybody has done all of the countertops and the flooring and when we run into a property where they haven't done those things, it's like a bidding war to go and buy it. So you can go and do those renovations, throw it back on the market, because you're going to make the money, because you were able to buy it for so much less than you could buy anything that had already been renovated in our neighborhood. And quality over quantity. Sometimes less is more, right? Don't spend a whole lot if your market doesn't require it. You do what's necessary satisfy the purchasers in your market. So don't over improve, don't put in imported bamboo floors when vinyl plank from Floor and Decor will do. And also make sure that you do enough. Don't just roll out a fresh sheet of vinyl if every, or put in old, cheap carpet if your neighborhood is full of floors, homes that no longer have carpet. And then you want to keep up with how the market is moving. What is the market doing? Are prices cooling? Maybe this isn't the best time for an update, preparing to sell. If you're not going to see any of that money back because prices are going down. And if prices are becoming stale, but I really want to do this thing, maybe I can't move in a year or two like I'd anticipated. I really need to sit down for 5 years and enjoy, what it is that I wanted in my home. So what are some low cost changes? I tell everybody, the best thing you can do to make your home look like something, clean up, have somebody come in, wash walls, deep clean floors, do baseboards, all of those things that appeal to the eye. Because if someone comes in and those things that are easy to do have not been done, then the assumption is that those harder things were definitely not done, right? Like, in our minds, we'll say, well, I did the so-and-so, so they shouldn't be looking at, this, that. And I say, well, I never would have imagined you'd have gotten there if you hadn't done this. And so you want to make sure you do those easy things. Refresh painting. Don't have stains on the walls and, places where you can see that your child has written their name or scratched the paint off completely. And so you want to repair those easy things. You want to repair and replace damaged or stained items. If someone put a hole in the wall, get someone to come and repair that sheetrock. They don't have to replace the whole wall. They could just fix that piece, blend that paint, and then now it looks like nothing ever took place. And it didn't cost as much as it would to, redo the entire room. Now, how do we move the needle if we really want to make a big change? When you look at the real estate appraisal form and it's asking about the condition of the home, it doesn't ask if you put in new carpets. It doesn't ask if you painted throughout. What it asks is how have you updated the kitchen and the bathrooms in the last 15 years? It asks, what did you do? Did you remodel or did you update? Then it gives a list of timeframes to see how recently was this done. And those things help us to determine whether or not you are run-of-the-mill condition, whether you have really good condition or you have great condition. And we adjust the value according to that. So if you are looking for a place to really spend your money and to see it, as much as you can, it would be in your kitchen and your bathrooms. We kind of discussed Floor and Decor for a minute, in a house you're going to live in forever. Throw all your bright, bold, dark, electric neon colors and flooring options and just go haywire and crazy. But if you're looking to transfer that property, you may want to keep it as neutral a palette as you can to make it appealing to more people than not. Okay, I'm going to try to move through this page quickly, but it is important. And I think it's important because so many people are getting sold a bag of goods and it's not worth what they think it's worth. So let's talk about, is it worth it? First thing, solar panels in Houston. We aren't green like that yet. We are still in oil and gas country. And so solar panels have not yet for us shown up in valuation the way it has in places like California, in places like Austin. And one of the things that happens is people get locked into these gigantic contracts where when you get ready to sell your house, unless you pay that thing off completely, you can't even sell it because the solar panel lender doesn't want to be in a second lien position to the mortgage company, and no mortgage company is going to be in second lien position to anyone. And so I've had a lot of issues where deals have fallen off the table because of solar panels. You're left with this, maybe it's gotten your light bill down to $30 instead of the $200 it had been, but now you have a $275 solar panel bill. And so we have not yet found it. This is my personal opinion, to be worth it in the Houston market for most purchasers. Second thing is generators. Generators, you won't see the value show up in your appraised value, but it is like that swimming pool. It is, are you going to be there to enjoy the additional security of having your generator, lights available no matter what's going on weather-wise in the city. So for everything on this page, solar panels, generators, swimming pools, outdoor kitchens, they are worth it if they are personally worth it to you. If you are looking for pecuniary value, you will not find it on this page. We don't have the market for it. Even if I feel like something should be worth it, as an appraiser, I use historical data, and we don't have enough data to show that these are market, that there is a market trend that supports additional value for these items. So we want to do something. We want to make some changes. We sat through all this time of me telling y'all what's a good and what's a bad idea. So what do we do now? So we write out our plan. We've decided, I've just had enough of these cream walls, and I want to do something different. So make your plan. Know what you want to spend. Know what is too much to spend. Know what is important to change in order of priority. And you be honest, and I want you to be specific, but I do not want you to spend more than you can lose. Because you may spend the money and never see a dime back. Your return on investment might be negative. And so you want to make sure that no matter what you spend, you can afford to not get it back. That if you have the opportunity to enjoy it, it will be enough. And that way you won't make any mistakes as you make amendments to your property. So if you have questions, you can contact me anytime. My cell phone is 281-414-5709. There's no such thing as a personal cell phone number if you're in real estate. My email address is nvcollins@keysres.com, and my website is www.keysres.com. And that's it.
Okay. I didn't have any questions in the chat here. I'm actually going through the emails that from when people registered earlier to see if there were any comments or questions there that need to be gone over. I don't have any on social media. Let's see.
I know they don't appreciate how fast I just talked.
Genovacs, the generators that people are getting installed on their houses, are those adding any kind of value to homes that you could see?
We mentioned that they are there because it is still a very much a personal preference item. It is not where you have full wide market expectation of it being there. There are certain things that the market expects, and then there are just things that people like.
Gotcha. Ms. Marla, you have a question? Your hand is raised.
Yes, I do. I'm in my house 27 years. Only 2 of the rooms were painted years ago, and I have a large house. How do you go about finding somebody who can be trusted to repaint the interior? Because I am failing in that job. I have gotten quotes from $23,000 to $32,000 just to paint the inside. And
first thing is that's no. So all of those are no.
The only person I found who could give a reasonable price appeared to be between 65 and 68 years old, maybe. He wasn't bonded. He didn't have insurance. So how do you go about finding somebody bonded and insured that isn't going contractor prices because they're farming out the job?
Okay, so I'm gonna speak honest, true contractor to you, okay? And then I'll lie, even though it's recorded for the whole world to see.
It's just us talking. Don't worry about it.
Just us talking.
It's just talking.
Okay, so my recommendation is generally initially that you talk to a friend or neighbor or someone you know who you trust to get a recommendation.
Oh, I've
Right.
already put it out on Nextdoor in my area, and no one in that I'm neighbors with has done this work. And that's how I glean the people who I talked to and had come give estimates, is because they were recommendations from people in this area that were, I asked the people who they were happy with the work.
Yes.
And then you have a whole bunch of guys that want to just say, I'll give you an estimate, but I don't, there are no references.
Well,
Yeah.
So-
okay, because here's the hitch is bonding and insuring
Mhm.
is super expensive for the contractor.
Mhm.
So you're going to pay for that, right? And it was the reason I had said, because the 68-year-old man, if he's been painting houses his whole life, but he just can't afford that bonding and insuring, he may be the best person, but it would be easier to trust if someone you knew had recommended him. And so that it's always the thing. We typically recommend that people get recommendations
Mhm.
because there's no other way to be sure that you're not going to be taken advantage of. And I mean, that can happen even with the recommendation.
Okay, so you
Also,
used to be in real estate, am I?
Miss Marla,
So a realtor
did you
that
take my number
trust,
down?
would that? Yes, I did. I took a photo.
Miss Marla, can you call me now?
Mhm. Can I call you one-to-one? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
I sure can.
Okay.
and also I would also, just as a suggestion, what I've done personally, like Home Depot, Lowe's, those places have their clients or their contractors that they work with too. So you might try working with them, or even if you go to Lowe's, or to go and sit over in the paint section, and there's a boatload of contractors that walk through there, all the time. Ask them questions.
Made me think of something. I want Sherwin-Williams paint. So maybe
Mhm.
I go to Sherwin-Williams.
Go to Sherwin-Williams and see which contractors are walking there asking questions. To ask them simple questions. If they don't have time to answer your questions, even just in general conversation, then that's probably not the person that you want to do business with. Because you'll get that feel for the person who's like, oh, well, that didn't what you want to use. You might want to do blah, 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 blah. Don't tell them that, that you're looking for a contractor. Just say, hey, you ever thought about this? Or what do you think of this? Or, just ask them questions and get a feel for them. Also, I've also tried Angie, or is it Angie? Yeah,
Angie's List.
Angie's List.
Mhm.
Angie's List has some pretty good reputable contracts. I've gotten pretty good quotes from those. I ended up not doing some of the work only because other things came up, but I've gotten some pretty good quotes from Angie's List as well. So they vet a lot of their contractors that are on their list as well. But
And that ends up being a lot of those people who may not be able to afford the licensing and the insuring, but they have the reviews of work that they've done for them. So it's a pathway for those people to build their businesses.
But then what protects you from them suing you if they get injured in your house?
that's your insurance.
Oh,
Licensing and bonding
doesn't protect them from
protect you
that.
from that. No.
Oh, I
That
thought
has
it
nothing,
did.
no, that
it
has
has
nothing to do
nothing to
with
do
that.
with that.
Oh, wow.
No,
And
ma'am.
quick question for you, Ms. Nia. Are we allowed to call you to ask you some questions?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When I send out this, the recording and the references and things like that, my contact information will be on there, or it may still be on there from the reminder email that I sent out earlier. So yeah, not a problem. But that's one way to do it also. But you definitely, there is no like the good book where you could go to and just get that list of those contractors that have everything and all rainbows and roses that everybody has said about them. There is no, it's just a matter of chance as you're out there, because who may have been in business for 20 years, have had all kinds of rave reviews, may sell their company next week to their nephew or somebody, and then they go completely downhill from there. So you just kind of never know who may be taking over that family business or whatever, or they got rid of the old employees and now they got new employees that they're still in training and may not know what they're doing. So it's just kind of a hit and miss when it comes to choosing contractors. You just got to be careful, and you never pay anything up front, all costs. You got to make sure, as Cliff was saying, that you get those estimates, and that those estimates spell out in detail what exactly is the scope of work, what exactly are you going to be doing. If you have questions about it, and anybody for any kind of job, if you've got questions about stuff and these people don't have time to talk to you or don't want to be bothered with answering questions for you, then you already know, kind of listen to that voice that you got that says, this probably isn't who I want to do business with. If nobody wants to ever give you references or referrals that they've used that you can contact or call, then that's probably not somebody who you want to do business with either. But it's just a matter of like really just doing the homework and then taking the chance and making sure that you've got everything in writing. Everything.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Those were all the other questions, because the generator was the only other question that I had that was in the chat. I mean, on the email here. Um, yeah, you talked about the property taxes and the home repair. Yeah, that's about it. So, I went
Would
to
adding a bathroom on improve your house value?
I'm sorry.
Would adding a bathroom to your house would add value?
It should. What are you giving up to add the bathroom?
Pretty much a closet or a part of a utility room. But
Oh,
we have.
then that should add value. You have to speak carefully. That should add value.
I'm
That
in
is
my parents' house and it has repairs severely. And part of the process I would like to do is upgrade some of the things, like add a half a bath between the garage and the kitchen.
You don't want to lose a bedroom closet.
I
If
was
a
just about to go
bedroom
there.
loses its closet, it's no longer a bedroom.
I'm sorry?
I said, you don't want to lose a bedroom closet. I heard you say a closet was one of the choices. You don't
It
want to
was-
lose a bedroom closet, because then the bedroom is no longer a bedroom.
No, what it is like a utility closet. But we have another room that I was going to convert it into a full utility room. And where the washer and dryer is, I was going to think about putting a half bath.
Okay. We've actually done a very similar project. We moved the utility room in order to put in a half bath. But we didn't lose any bedroom, we didn't lose any closet space.
We didn't. And that's just like another situation. Is that I was thinking about adding a shower in my parents' bathroom. Otherwise, it's just a half. And I was going to fill out the closet in my room. Might be like 2 feet. And I thought that might increase the value of the house.
So let me understand what you're saying. You're going to reduce your closet by 2 feet. I'm assuming it's a walk-in.
Reduce the bedroom so they're back to back.
Oh, reduce the
deposit
bedroom by 2 feet.
by billing
I
out
would,
a
I would have
closet
to
in
know
my
more about the
room.
dimensions of that bedroom to know whether that was a good idea.
Is it a primary bedroom or is it like one of the a smaller guest bedroom?
The bath, the shower to be added on would be a master bedroom.
Mm.
Okay, so the bathroom is currently a half bathroom?
The master bedroom has a half bath.
Okay, and you want to add a shower to that bathroom?
Right. And if-
Okay,
Okay.
considering that if the space that you pull to put the shower in doesn't make the room you're pulling the space from too small to be, really used as a bedroom, then that should add value because it's moving it from a half bathroom to a full bathroom.
Full bath.
Okay, that's what I thought. By adding almost a full bath to the entire house, you're upgrading it and you're modifying to the new homes that have the same accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's what I thought. I just trying to double check.
Yes, ma'am.
I would also caution sometimes against, contractors that come in to try to tell you, oh, if you do this, it's going to increase the value of your house and blah, 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 blah. Don't trust that. Don't trust it.
We are appraisers and we do contracting. And we still don't tell people this will make your value do this.
Yeah. Just be careful. Just be careful. And make sure that they're pulling the proper permits.
Mm-hmm.
As Cliff mentioned before too. I just want to go back through the chat to make sure I'm not missing anything else or any other personal messages. So with that being said, I think that's about it. So again, a copy of this recording, the book, and the materials that Cliff referenced will be emailed out to everybody so that you can go back and watch again and review. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us. Both the presenters' contact information will be included on the email as well, in case you didn't get it on the presentation, so that you'll be able to reach out to them directly if you have more specific questions. We want to thank you all for joining us this month. We used to do these every month, but now we've moved to every other month. It's the third Wednesday of every other month that we do the maintaining and adding value. But Cliff has actually done a few Saturday presentations for me before too, when it's more like a more hands-on, more detail about identifying those home repair issues. That and what you can do to how you can do it yourself kind of thing. So I'm looking to have another one of those in the next couple of months as well, to see if we can get him to come back out again. And those are always on a Saturday, so it's usually easier to get people actually in person on a Saturday as it is as opposed to during the week. So we may be doing another one of those, but you have the opportunity to come back if you have more questions later on, or something else you think about, or something like that, or you just want to get an update or review, because we do have different inspectors also that come on with us. There may be a different inspector at the next presentation as well. So if you guys want to come back and join us,
I have a
or
quick
just,
question.
I'm sorry?
I get an estimate for a new roof. How long should I expect for the contractor to give me an estimate?
If you requested a roof quote, and how long should it take for them to get you a quote?
Yes, how long should it take?
There is no standard rule, but I would imagine it shouldn't take more than a couple of days or so to get you a quote.
A new quote, right? Just a couple?
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I feel like I'm going through circles here.
Well, that's an indication too. If you haven't been able to get in touch with them, or haven't been able to get them on the phone, that's an indication too of what's going to happen when it's time for them to actually start doing the work, or if you have issues afterwards.
I just asked for a simple quote. Quotes are
Exactly.
simple.
Exactly. So if you can't get a quote, imagine what it's going to be for you when you get them to do
Working
some
with
actual
them.
work. Yeah,
A pain in the neck.
exactly. So definitely keep that in mind. All right. Well, you all have a wonderful remainder of your afternoon. Thank you, Miss Nikki. We appreciate you taking time out of homeschool because I know that's not an easy task either. So tell the kids thank you very much for letting us borrow you for a couple of hours to get this presentation out there. We really appreciate that too. So the rest of you guys, make sure that you have a wonderful remainder of your day. You all take care of yourselves. You stay safe, and we will see y'all next time. There will be a quick link that pops up on the screen if you guys don't mind just taking a couple of minutes to do a quick survey for us and letting us know if there's any other presentations that we don't currently offer that you all may be interested in, to let us know. And if any of the presentations that we've offered that you guys have been to, if they've been impactful in any kind of way, if we could just share your story with us and let us know so that we'll know that we're doing a good job, or that, you know, that we're providing you all with the information it is that you need. If there are some kind of issues or something that's coming up that's impacting your particular neighborhood or your community or, you know, your family or whatever, that you just want more information about, to say, hey, man, what happened to this? Or what do we do about this? You know, this thing is kind of coming up. Let us know, and we'll see what we can do about getting a presentation for you guys. So again, you all have the wonderful remainder of your day. Take care, and we will see y'all soon. Thank you, Miss Nikki. And thank you all for your comments and your input and your questions as well. All right, have a good one.